We missed you a couple days.
Yeah.
Why don't we go ahead and get opening comment from Coach Forbes as the players gather. Go ahead, Scott, if you'd lean into the mic, please.
Man, I honestly, my girls will probably tell me it's the first time I'm kind of lost for words, honestly. Look at this club. I reflect back on eating dinner in Charlottesville when we got walked off. And thankfully I was eating with my parents. You know, they're older, but they travel just like they do when I played. And it's come me a little bit of perspective, but man, the outlook wasn't good. And to see the joy on these guys' face today is, you know, after where we were, it's really unbelievable, but it's a credit to them because I saw it in the fall. I knew we had a great group, you know, starting with some guys that came back to school, and Danny Soretti and Angel Zarate that didn't sign professionally, and they led our team, as well as a lot of those older guys that you saw on the field against Florida State. So, you know, I'm thankful to just have won that regional. But man, like to come out of the losers bracket like that, you know, it's telltale of this team. It doesn't surprise me. Nothing surprises me with this group anymore. And I'm just thankful to be able to be in it with them. I do want to say that that's a good club over there. Steph does a great job. He always has. You know, VCU is going to play you hard. They're going to be fundamentally sound, and I thought they were a tough bunch, especially to pitch to. So to find a way to beat them twice, again, is a credit to our guys, but I want to congratulate them on a heck of a season. Because it's hard. I've been in the mid-major, and it's hard to get to this point. But I also want to give a shout out to our guys, and especially our pitchers. You know, to come through that losers bracket and do what they did, and Brandon Schaeffer to come off 1 day's rest. And we talked to Brandon this morning. This is the last thing I'll say, and this is how it is with our whole team. Called Brandon, and he said, well, if you're asking me if I'm available, this is why I came to UNC. And as soon as he said that, Coach Gaines and I just said, okay, we're giving him the ball. And we had to have somebody that could give us some length, and he did that. And Gage is right here beside me, which is awesome too. And, you know, Gage was thinking about not coming back this year and go ahead, and he said, you know, I might go ahead and start working. And I said, you'll regret it if you do that. You got that extra COVID year, you know, come back, we want you back. And, you know, all these guys up here, our older guys, and Mikey Madej, you know, to get here and be in the lineup and then be out almost for a full year, steps up to the plate. I mean, if that's not why you coach, then I don't know what is. So I'm thankful also for our crowd. They were tremendous. I mean, I have to mention that. I don't want to talk too long, but man, I've been in a lot of games here, and they've been big games, but I felt like our crowd, this entire regional, was phenomenal. And that's a home field advantage, and that's another reason we won.
Folks, let's do questions for the players first. Just go ahead and raise your hand, Kevin. Pat.
Brandon, I mean, obviously, Coach talked about it a little bit right there, but just what was your reaction when you got that phone call this morning? So, I mean, how did you feel physically going after that?
I was excited, really excited. And like he said, that's why I came here, and that's why we all come here, is to play and, you know, be in the biggest moments and the biggest games. Going out there, I just put the fact that I was on 1 day's rest out of my head, and I just treated it like any other start. And you know, the goal for me was to just give as much length as I could to give the team a chance to win. And you know, Gage came in and picked me up and carried us a long way there as well. And it was just, you know, it was a great game from start to finish, and I'm just real happy for all of us.
Brandon, Coach Stifler just mentioned that they kind of had a good game plan for you on Saturday, but you flipped the script, I guess, after this morning when you got the call. Did you go back and kind of think about that game at all?
I mean, no, but our game plan here attacking them is pretty much similar to what we did there. And it's basically just executing pitches. As long as you do that, you know, keep the ball down in the zone, things like that, I'm usually going to have success. So it was just a matter of, you know, making pitches and letting the defense make the plays, which they're doing a great job of. And, you know, letting the bats do the rest of the work, and it all came together.
Mikey, you were named most outstanding player of the Chapel Hill Regional. What was working for you all weekend?
What? I didn't know that. That's cool.
Breaking news.
No, I'm just happy. I'm super happy we won. I mean, that's all that matters. But I guess what was working, the ball was finding grass. I mean, just gotta stick with it. Baseball's a game where, I mean, like, look at Mac yesterday. First game, he hit 4 balls. First at bat, he got robbed from a home run, and then he hit 3 line drives or something like that. And then I think the next game he had like did not hit the ball super hard. I mean, he did. I mean, but there's like 1 or 2 of them that just kind of dropped in there, and that's just baseball. I mean, that's why we all love it.
Adam?
Gage, what were you feeling there, 6th, 7th? You know, as the game's getting longer and people up clapping, you know, when the innings are ending, and you know, could sort of start to sense this thing happening. Just what was the whole scene like as you're out there pitching and people were getting, you know, more and more excited?
Obviously a ton of adrenaline pumping. It's great, like knowing that we're playing, playing to go to Super. Like it's something I've never had a chance to really, like I've been in a regional, but not the chance to really go to a Super. And so like coming out of junior college and then, you know, coming to a place I never thought that I'd really get to, like it's indescribable really, just to have the opportunity to be out there and just feel all that energy.
Shelby Swanson, Daily Tar Heel. This is a question for you, Mikey. Just going back to that home run in the first inning. I mean, off the bat, did you know it was out because you didn't really watch it? You just kind of turned and
Started jogging.
Yeah.
You get a little.
The
Yeah,
bat broke.
yeah, I hit it pretty good. I didn't get all of it, but I knew it was gone. Just got enough of it, and I knew I kept it fair. But yeah, I just kind of hit it and started jogging.
Yeah. Quick follow-up on that, if I can. Just take me through the thought process as you're, you know, running around the bases. You see your team at home, all that. What's going through your head?
First off, I'm just super proud of like everything. I mean, look at Gage. He went forward and third, gave up 1 hit. Like me and him are both old. both guys. Like,
Man,
yeah, we've been through a lot, and I'm just super happy. Like guys like me and Gage, and a lot of others. I mean, the whole team. But just like knowing that I did it for them, it's just makes it so much better.
Gregory, then Adam?
This is for all the 3 of the players. Just what's the feeling knowing that Saturday night you guys didn't have your head coach going into Sunday, and you had to win 3 straight games to get to a Super, and now you're here. Just looking back on what you guys accomplished, just what's the feeling of knowing how you got here? Brandon, if you want to start this one.
I mean, it's really special. Like Coach always says, it's our team, but you know, it's really special to be able to do it when he's not here, to be able to get some wins, make some big plays, and just, you know, it is a full team game, and it takes every single person wearing the uniform, coaches included. And I think you see when everybody starts pulling for each other and starts, you know, clicking at the right time what we're capable of doing, and it's just really fun to be a part of this ride.
Gage or Mikey, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I don't. I think like when he got ejected, I think it kind of fired us up a little bit. And you know, even though we ended up losing that game, like going into the next day, I don't think it really affected us because like Schaeffer said, it's our team, and I think this when the whole crowd started cheering, Scott Forbes. It's not gonna be that. Like, I think that just like set another tone and just fired us up even more.
I had goosebumps. Goosebumps. I was like pumping up the crowd.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But yeah, I mean, Nick Pride really stepped in when Coach Forbes wasn't there. He was imitating him pretty well. But yeah, we're an older team. I think that helped us a lot there, and just stuck to it. Remember everything he tells us every day.
Adam and Shelby.
Brandon, the phone call from Scott this morning was when you told him if you're asking if I'm available, was he sort of like beating around the bush? Like, you know, like.
I don't know what he was doing.
it was actually from Coach Gaines. I was just in his office when he called.
Okay. I mean, was there like a slow playing aspect of that? Where you're like just.
Well, I mean, I was hoping he was going to give me the ball tonight, so I mean, I don't know if it was slow playing or not, because if he was, I was going to come out and tell him I wanted the ball. So, I mean, I was excited. I jumped up and I started getting ready to go up to that phone call.
A couple more for the players, Shelby, then Matt and Jonas.
Yeah, this is a question for you, Coach Forbes. Could you take me through that decision earlier in the season to insert Mikey into the lineup in outfield, somebody that's never played in outfield before?
Yeah, he just earned it. We couldn't find anybody that was really producing at the time in left field. But I paid attention like we should as coaches, and one thing Mikey kept doing is working. It looked like his BP was getting better. He looked like he was ready, and we put him in there. He gave us that spark, and he's a switch hitter. He's got that he can jump a heater like he did today. He's got some pop. So it's a credit to Mikey. He was just ready for the opportunity, and really solidified our lineup.
You guys have questions for the players? Okay, Matt, go ahead.
Matt since South Carolina for Brandon and Gage. Can y'all talk about the regional MVP and Mikey and what you saw from him, especially with 8 of his RBIs in elimination games?
Yeah, I mean, you heard Coach say he's just a really special player. He's electric out there. Switch hitter helps a lot, but just having his presence in the lineup, and out there in left field, it sparks everybody up. I mean, he's always got energy. He's always upbeat, pulling for every single person. And he's a JUCO bandit. We're all bandits up here, and they're tough players. And I love playing with them. I hate playing against them. So, it's fun.
It's a brotherhood. I got to add to that. I was a JUCO bandit too, so you probably don't know what we're talking about. But unless you've been in a JUCO for a full season, you would never know.
Yeah, I mean, me and Mikey came in here together in summer school. We roomed together, and so since then he's always been just one of the hardest workers on the team. Like Brandon said, always one of those guys that's pumping everybody up, never getting down, always giving it 100%. Even if he's not having the best day, he's never gonna let off the brakes. And that's extremely valuable.
Last one for the players.
Thank you.
Jonas, go ahead.
And this is for any player. Do you guys go celebrate this one, or do you guys as a team go stand around the TV and watch the Arkansas Oklahoma State game? And if Arkansas was off, what would it mean to host a super, considering where you guys came from early in the year?
Mike?
Yeah, we're not done yet. I mean, this isn't the goal. But yeah, there's nothing to celebrate. Like Coach Forbes said, celebrate in Omaha.
Anything else for the players? Pat?
Gage, you touched on it. I mean, for you and Mikey here, just that NCAA regional experience you guys got last year. I mean, how tangible was that for you guys, just kind of going throughout this entire weekend?
I mean, one of the biggest things is just having a home crowd, not having thousands of fans against you. It's nice to have them cheering for you. I just know in the Texas Tech game last year, that was just, I couldn't even hear myself think. And coming in and not being able to hear myself think for the right reason was really nice.
Yeah, I was gonna say the exact same thing. I mean, I remember against Texas Tech that night, their crowd, my vision was shaking. It was so loud, and it was huge being at home. Fans were unbelievable, but I mean, baseball is baseball. We want to win. That's it. And it was a lot easier at home.
All right, guys, thank you very much. We'll let you head to the locker room. We'll look forward to watching you play somewhere next week. Coach Forbes, you have to stick around, sorry.
No worries.
All right, questions for Coach. RL?
Hey, Scott, could you take us through the emotions of what happened Saturday to having to watch the 2 games from home yesterday and then hearing your name chanted by the fans at the end of the second game?
Yeah, as soon as it happened, a big part of me was dang it, because obviously I didn't want to be thrown out of the game. But the other part was, with this team, nobody makes it about themselves, and I was I don't really want to be the center of attention, and I know how that's how sports works, but I just felt like it was a huge moment in the game. What happened. We have a saying in our family that, sometimes it can be hard to forgive, but you gotta do it, quick, because those same guys can be out on the field, and there's no reason to harness those hard feelings. And sure enough, I walk up today, and same 2 that, one that threw me out, and then one that put the 2 fingers in the air is out there on the field, and I sure didn't want that to hurt our players. But it was emotional. I will say it's a lot harder to watch on TV when you're not in the dugout. I haven't been so nervous for 18 innings, I don't think ever. But I also surrounded myself with a group of people can't tell you where I watched because that's a secret, but we had a good time and we were high-fiving and so we made the most of it.
Bigger.
Scott, similar question to what I asked the players, but I mean, this is the first UNC team to make a super through the losers bracket. Just what does that mean based on how you've seen this team progress to get to this point?
Yeah, it's a sign of toughness for sure, and we talk about that. You know, what is true toughness? What is true grit? You know, and all that. And we start early. You know, in the weight room with Coach Gatz, and there's so many people that we talk about all the time that don't get the credit that deserve the credit. And Greg Gatz is one of them. I've always thought he's one of the hardest working people here in our athletic department. And he's always been with us. He's been with us a long time. And our guys, they get stronger, they get more physical. You know, for the most part, they stay healthy, and that's a big part of him and our training staff. So, you know, it did surprise me, you know, to be honest with this group. I told myself, you know, we even talked about like, yeah, we'd love to host. We're going to pull for Arkansas to host, but with this team, you know, the road's going to be the road, and nothing will surprise me with them.
Scott, when you got tossed the other night and you found out you're going to be suspended, did you allow yourself to think, you know, I might not be there when this season ends, you know, I might be, you know, somewhere else, or, you know, you try not to think about that sort of aspect of it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was mad at myself because, you know, I felt like I probably could have, not probably, I could have. I could have prevented myself from being thrown out, even though I don't think I should have been. I wouldn't have thrown, if I was an umpire, I can honestly tell you, I know how big the game is, unless it was really warranted. But I did have to think like, okay, you know, this is going to be a learning experience, and I sure hope I don't have to watch us lose at home. You know, but I had a really great feeling, obviously, after we found a way to beat Georgia. I was like, okay, that's the big one. This team can, you know, as hot as we've been offensively, I think we can score a lot of runs and get to Monday. Yeah, that was a bad feeling, and I was just mad at myself because really you have to control your own emotions, and but I definitely didn't agree with what happened, but I had to live with it. So
Just to follow up, real quick. You talk about high-fiving people and everything, but I mean, was there also some sort of feeling of helplessness, you know, since, you know, you're removed?
yeah, I mean, but really,
As you're watching the game?
yeah, really from the coaching standpoint, you know, I tell the guys all the time, okay, you know, practice is their time, but it's my time, and we're going to practice hard, and here's why we're going to practice hard, and here's what we're going to do every day, and why we do it. And then so I don't have to do anything as their head coach on game day except make a decision here or there. And if any coach has done their job in practice, you know, the team's going to get better fundamentally. It doesn't mean they're going to be perfect, but they know what to do. And like Michael Jordan always said, you know, if you make practice harder, the games might be easier. So really, I reverted back to that, and I also thought about like the three guys, you know, that are my assistant coaches. You know, are my assistant coaches for a reason. They're all three Tar Heels, and you know, they do a phenomenal job. So I didn't think that was going to affect us at all.
Michael?
Scott, speaking of your assistant coaches, when you got to the ballpark today and you saw Coach Gage, what was the first thing you said to him?
And I don't know, probably how much coffee have you drank so far? You know, he reminds me so much of me at that age as a pitching coach, and you know, being a pitching coach for Coach Fox so long, you know, I know what today's like. I mean, you're calling a lot of pitches, and there's a lot of pressure. So really, I just walked in and said, hey man, what do you think? Who are we going to start? So we got tired of texting each other like 1:30 and said we need to talk in the morning. But you know, I told them to get in there a little bit later, but they were all in there and working away, and we just reminded each other like, hey, we need to enjoy this and be loose, because let's don't forget where we were.
Shelby, then Pat.
Yeah, going back to Mikey's performance, I mean, you watched, you know, some of it at home, some of it today, but 8 RBIs in the elimination games. How does it feel to just watch that from a player that you've watched develop and work so hard?
Talking about Mikey?
Mikey, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, as a coach, you get to help kids sometimes with things that maybe not be sport related, and to see Mikey just mature, that's the thing I'm most proud about. You know, he's got his degree. but it's only fitting, I'm up here looking at these guys and I'm like, wow, we have 3 JUCO kids up here, that really weren't recruited very heavily, that we had a gun on, and we felt like they could help us, and dang if they're not up here, and one of them's the MVP, and Mikey Madej. If there's ever a kid that deserves something like this, it's Mikey Madej, because first of all, he's a phenomenal teammate. And, we see what guys do when they're not in the lineup, and that's hard, because all these guys are so good. But Mikey Madej, on the front step, he's the first one out of the dugout, and now he's getting rewarded for that.
Take Pat and 1 or 2 more if there are. Pat and Wayne.
Coach, I mean, you've touched on the pitching performance already, but I mean, 5th game in 4 days, and you only used 3 pitchers. I mean, you've seen a lot of remarkable pitching performances. I know your time is kind of where we see this stacks up.
Up there, because, this time of the season, now, we did talk about this today, Coach Gaines and I said, this is why you manage your pitching staff the right way the entire season. You don't overtax guys so they can do things like this in the postseason. But still, to have a guy with 1 day's rest to give you some length, and then for Gage, Gage was, besides Austin Love, was probably the one reason we made it to a regional last year. And he's been really good the last month. So really, I'm just happy for those guys, but you can't win without it. We talk about it. You can't win without starting pitching, and you can't win without making plays. So, looking at that game, man, we made some unbelievable plays. Danny, Mac, some digs at first base. Colby Wilkerson made some tough plays. Those are extra outs, and that game can change. So that's a credit to the defense as well.
And
You touched on it in the beginning, but what stands out most about what Schaeffer built at VCU? Obviously faced them 2 years ago in the regular season, 3 times this weekend. What kind of impressed you the most about that program?
I tell you, they're physical, and their offense. They don't stop really 1 through 9, and they've got an elite guy in their lineup. And when you have an elite guy that doesn't strike out much, he's got 23, 25 home runs, 80 RBIs, you're hoping that he's not up there with runners on base very often. But it goes all the way back to Coach Keys, who coached there a long time. Unfortunately, Coach passed away. And then Stiff, was named the head coach, but they've always been tough, and they've always been fundamentally sound.
Anybody else? Gregory?
Scott, what's this week look like? I know you just won a regional, but you've never been the head coach for Super, and I know you talked about using the weekend series to prepare for this, but just what do these next few days look like?
It's funny you ask that, because I used to pay attention. I would notice Coach would be on his computer sometimes. I didn't even know this. He's sitting back there, so I can't look at him much or I'll get emotional. But I would be like, what are you doing? And he was working on itineraries and, ahead of time. And there's a reason he's doing that. Number one, probably started doing it and something good happened, because we're all a little bit I always say I'm not superstitious, I'm just a little stitious. But I said to myself, okay, because before we went to the AC tournament, I did every day to the championship game, sent it to our guys so they had it on their phone. I did I did the regional. I didn't have as good in the losers bracket, but then still sent out an email every night. And then I sat down this morning and I did tonight's email that I'll send to the team that has tomorrow's plan on it, just because I think that's good luck. So we'll get right back at it. Obviously we'll find out. I guess there's a chance we can play Saturday or Friday, Saturday. But, as crazy as this sounds, I'll tell the guys to sleep, and we'll be over to see Coach Gatz and start that process of getting ready for this weekend, tomorrow.
Last one, Patrick.
Coach, again, just with what this team has gone through, just once that final out was recorded, what was it like just watching them be able to take that in?
Pure joy and happiness for our players. Because I told them I've been to Omaha, and some of them haven't, and I want this group to get there, and hopefully be the first team to win the national championship. But we talk about being in the moment and creating memories, and I could just see it on these guys' eyes as soon as that last ball was caught, and that's why you coach, or at least it should, it's why you should coach, because when you have a team, we talk about in the locker room, this is the only time this team will be that team. You know, some guys may be back, but the new guys coming in, and you never forget the team you're on. So, you know, I guess the word for me would just be really excited and joyful for our players.
Coach, thank you. Congratulations.